Greetings again, young Star Trek fans. I have another book for you today. This one is called Star Trek, The Prisoner of Vega. This looks like a classic from Random House. Let's see what it has in store for us. Ooh, that's a nice Enterprise. Star Trek, The Prisoner of Vega, written by Sharon Lerner and Christopher Cerf, illustrated by Robert Swanson. The crew of the starship USS Enterprise was on its way to the planet Vega 3 to sign a treaty with the Vegans. Vegan 3 had a large supply of corium, a rare metal used to build new starships. The United Federation of Planets needed corium. The Vegans were going to give it to the Federation. Captain James T. Kirk was busy at his command chair on the bridge. Chief Helmsman Sulu steered the ship while Lieutenant Uhura watched the view screen. Mr. Spock checked the dials at his library computer station. Spock was the only member of the crew who was not from Earth. He had the pointed ears of a Vulcan. And all the people of the planet Vulcan are very exact. "Captain," said Spock, "we will reach Vegan space in exactly 7 minutes and 36 seconds. Captain Kirk smiled. "Thank you, Mr. Spock," he said. "The ruler of Vega is an old friend of mine. I'll be very happy to sign the new corium treaty with her, but I'll be even happier to see her again." All of a sudden, Uhura called to the captain. "I'm getting a message from Vega 3, she said. "Can you get us a closer look on the view screen?" asked Kirk. Uhura flicked a switch and the face of a beautiful woman filled the large view screen. "Starship Enterprise," said the woman. "We do not want you here. You have 2 hours to leave Vegan space forever. If you do not, we will blow up your ship. I, Vanadala, ruler of Vega 3, have spoken." Captain Kirk was very surprised. "I don't understand, Your Highness," he cried. "You asked us to come to sign a treaty. You said you were going to give us corium." "Maybe this will help you understand, Captain Kirk," said Vanadala. No sooner had the Queen spoken than a bright light flashed across the view screen. Then blast! The ship was hit by the powerful force of a giant phaser beam. The view screen went black and the Enterprise crew hit the floor. Captain Kirk jumped to his feet and ran to the nearest intercom. "Red alert! Red alert!" he shouted. The crew got busy at once. Chief Engineer Scott called the bridge from the engine room. His crew was already making repairs. "Don't worry, Captain," he said. "We can fix all the damage." Next, Captain Kirk called Dr. McCoy in sickbay. "Is anyone badly hurt, Bones?" he asked. "A few men have cuts and bruises, Jim. That's all," answered Dr. McCoy. Then Kirk and Mr. Spock hurried to the transporter room. "This is not at all logical," said Spock. "The Vegans do not like war, and they do not have weapons that could fight a starship, yet they have just attacked our ship." "Something is very wrong on Vega 3, said the captain. When they reached the transporter room, Dr. McCoy and Scotty were waiting for them. "We are going to beam down to Vega 3, said Captain Kirk. "We have only 2 hours to find out what's wrong. Scotty, you're in charge while we're gone. If you do not hear from us in 2 hours, remember, 2 hours. Check our coordinates and beam us back to the ship double quick." Kirk, McCoy, and Spock stood on the transporter desks. Each man looked at the chronometer to make sure he had the same time. Then Captain Kirk shouted, "Energize!" And the 3 men faded and disappeared. In an instant, they appeared on Vega 3. Mr. Spock pointed to the gates that surrounded a beautiful palace. "My tricorder shows that there is life in the direction of the palace," he said. The Enterprise crewman headed for the gates. Keep your phasers ready, men, said Captain Kirk. 3 guards stood just inside the palace gates. Halt, in the name of the Klingon Empire, they called. Klingons, cried Dr. McCoy. I thought I smelled something rotten on this planet. Set your phasers on heavy stun, ordered the captain. Fire! The 3 Klingon guards fell to the floor. Queen Vanadala must be a prisoner inside the palace, said Mr. Spock. I think you're right, Spock, said the doctor. But the palace must be filled with Klingons. How are we going to save her? Don't worry, Bones, said Kirk. I have a plan. Let's change clothes with these Klingon guards. Dressed in the Klingon guards' clothes, the Enterprise crew could search the planet Vega 3 without any trouble. Everywhere they went, they saw Klingon soldiers with weapons. The soldiers were making the people of Vega 3 work for them. In a large valley nearby the palace, they saw Vegans loading corium into a Klingon spacecraft. It would seem that the Klingons need corium too, said Spock, but they use it to build their warships. We must stop them, said Captain Kirk. What are we waiting for? Cried Dr. McCoy. Let's get going. The Klingon guard at the door of the throne room held up his hand when he saw Kirk and the others dressed up as Klingons. No one goes through this door without orders from the commander, said the Klingon guard. Quick, Spock, whispered Captain Kirk. Give him the Vulcan nerve pinch. My pleasure, Captain, said Spock. He put his hand on the back of the guard's neck, and the guard fell to the floor. Kirk, Spock, and McCoy stepped quickly into the throne room. At a long table, covered with food, sat a huge, fierce-looking Klingon. Queen Vanadala's large throne was empty. It is Commander Kalar, whispered Spock, the meanest Klingon of them all. I have met him before. Kalar looked up at the 3 men. How dare you bother me while I am eating? And you, he said, pointing at Mr. Spock. Take off your helmet when you face your leader. Kirk and McCoy looked worried. They knew when Kalar saw Mr. Spock's ears, he would know who they really were. Spock slowly started to take off his helmet. With the helmet off, Spock's pointed ears could be easily seen. Commander Kalar jumped to his feet. Guards, surround that Vulcan and his friends, shouted Kalar. Klingon guards quickly surrounded Kirk's crew. Commander Kalar pointed to Spock. Mr. Spock of the USS Enterprise, we have met before. Then Kalar smiled and turned to Kirk and McCoy. Captain James Kirk and Dr. McCoy, welcome to Vega 3. Where is Queen Vanadala? Shouted Captain Kirk. You will soon find out, said Kalar. Guards, take their weapons and communicators and lock these busybodies up with the Queen. In exactly 1 hour, they will all be shot to death. Klingon guards seized the phasers and communicators. Then they took the crew down a long hallway that led to a large prison cell. The Klingon guards pushed the Enterprise crewmen into the cell. Queen Vanadala was there, looking very worried. The Queen jumped up and ran to the captain. I am sorry for what has happened, Captain Kirk, she cried. We were getting ready for your visit when we got a phony signal from the Klingons. We thought their ship was the Enterprise, so we let them beam down. They attacked our people and took over the palace. There was nothing I could do against Kalar. We are a peaceful people. Don't worry, Your Highness, said Kirk. We know the Klingons want your corium to build their warships, but I have a plan already. When I give the signal, let me say goodbye to my crew, you must stand next to Kalar. Do you understand? I think so, said the Queen. An hour later, Commander Kaylor came to the prison cell with 2 guards. "I am glad that you are all good friends," he said. "You can all die together. Long live the Klingon Empire!" Captain Kirk stepped forward. "Commander Kaylor," he said, "the United Federation of Planets wants Corium to build ships for peace. We know you want Corium to build ships for war. If you kill us, you will be breaking our treaty. You'll never get away with it." "Who cares about your silly treaty?" said Kaylor. "The Klingons are a fighting people. We love war. Guards, take these people outside and shoot them." He's not messing around, huh? The Enterprise crewmen and Queen Vanadala were taken outside the palace. They stood in front of a firing squad. Commander Kaylor got ready to give the order to shoot. Mr. Spock leaned over and whispered in the captain's ear, "Just 3 minutes and 40 seconds before Scotty beams us back to the ship," he said. "Wait, Kaylor," shouted Kirk. "Let's make a deal. You want the Corium, and we want to live. Promise to let us go, and I will show you our new secret way to mine Corium. It will save you a lot of time." Dr. McCoy could not believe what he was hearing. "Jim," he said, "you can't mean that." He grabbed the captain's arm. Mr. Spock put his hand on Dr. McCoy's shoulder. "You should know by now, Doctor," said Spock, "that the captain always means what he says." Queen Vanadala looked at Captain Kirk. "Jim," she said, "I thought you were my friend." Captain Kirk held the Queen's arm. "Well, Kaylor," said Kirk, "do we have a deal?" "I know you Earth people," said Kaylor. "If I let you go, you will do everything you can to stop us. You must die." As the firing squad stepped forward to shoot, Kirk glanced at his chronometer. "Only 15 seconds left," he thought. "Before you kill us," cried Captain Kirk, "let me say goodbye to my crew." Just that moment, Queen Vanadala stepped forward. "Please wait," she cried. "No more waiting," shouted Kaylor. "I will shoot you all myself." Commander Kaylor raised his weapon and pointed it at Captain Kirk. But as he was about to pull the trigger, an amazing thing happened. Everyone, Kirk, Spock, McCoy, Vanadala, and Kaylor, vanished into thin air. Seconds later, they all found themselves in the transporter room aboard the Enterprise. Security guards grabbed Kaylor on the double. "Good work, Scotty," said Captain Kirk. "You beamed us up just in time. Guards, put Commander Kaylor in the brig until we can drop him off at the prison on Starbase 2. After the 3 crewmen changed into their own uniforms, the captain invited Queen Vanadala to the bridge. Dr. McCoy and Spock were there to welcome her. "Thank the stars, Captain," said the Queen. "I was afraid you had turned against us. But how did you get us beamed up to the ship at just the right moment?" "It was easy, Your Highness," said Kirk. "Scotty had orders to beam us up if he didn't hear from us in 2 hours. I made that deal with Kaylor to stall for time. But I didn't know if you and Kaylor would be transported with us. That's why I told you to stand next to him when you heard my signal." "The people of Vega 3 are most thankful for all you have done for us, Captain," said Vanadala. "Now that I am no longer a prisoner, my people will be able to free themselves from the Klingons. And we will be able to sign that Corium treaty with you." When the Corium treaty was signed, the Queen said goodbye to the crew and beamed back to Vega 3. Dr. McCoy turned to the captain. "That was a good job of acting you did down there, Jim," he said. "Kaylor almost believed you were going to make a deal with him." Mr. Spock raised one of his eyebrows. "Kaylor was not the only one who was almost fooled," said Spock. "I believe I heard some doubt in your voice too, Doctor." "Nonsense, Spock," said Dr. McCoy. "I never doubted the captain for a minute." Mr. Spock was about to argue with Dr. McCoy, but a look from Captain Kirk made him think better of it. The captain smiled and turned to his helmsman. Mr. Sulu, he said, lay in a course for Starbase 2. We want to drop off Commander Kaler at the prison. Warp factor 4, full speed ahead. Oh, it's more stargazing. Stargazing tip from Mr. Spock. Vega is a real star. It's one of the brightest ones visible from the Earth, and you'll have no trouble spotting it as the sky gets dark during the evenings of July and early August. Just go outside and look due east. You'll find bluish-white Vega slightly more than halfway up the sky. With each passing night, Vega gets a bit higher until by early September you'll see it shining almost directly overhead at dusk. Vega is the most brilliant of the three bright stars that make up what is known as the Great Summer Triangle. At nightfall in July and August, look for Deneb and Altair, the other two stars in the triangle, twinkling below Vega in the east. And there away they go. Well, I hope you enjoyed that one. Kind of longer than usual, but very, very classic. I hope you enjoyed it. Daddy Star Trek, signing off.